Thank you to the National Whistleblower Center for inviting me to be a speaker this year alongside so many other brave whistleblowers and advocates. My name is Kimberly Young-McLear, and I am currently on active duty serving in the United States Coast Guard. I have worked with many professionals and colleagues over my 18-year career. However, I have also observed how leaders within the ranks can abuse their power to actually create toxic or unlawful working environments. Myself, I am a survivor of more than 5 years of workplace abuses, including workplace bullying, harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. All of those listed in clear violation of various Coast Guard policies, and retaliation is also in violation of the Military Whistleblower Protection Act. In December of 2018, the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Inspector General released a report substantiating the wrongdoing that I reported. I became one of the first active duty Coast Guard service members to have a substantiated case of retaliation. In that report, not only were my claims of retaliation substantiated, but it also revealed systemic issues of how the Coast Guard, at the highest levels, had swept my allegations and investigations under the rug. Due to the efforts of the DHS OIG uncovering a trail of government emails from servers, previous investigative reports completed by the Coast Guard, and conducting independent interviews, it showed that abuse of power is real, and it causes harm to real people. There has been permanent damage to aspects of my military reputation, and it has also caused mental health challenges that I will continue to cope with over my lifetime. Out of the dozens of individuals, many of whom were admirals, that have either harassed or condoned the bullying, harassment, and retaliation, not a single person to this date has ever been held accountable. In fact, senior officers and federal civilians involved in my case have gone on to be promoted, protected, or otherwise rewarded by the Coast Guard, despite the standards within the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Over the years, however, I have been able to create a positive platform to share parts of my story, giving interviews to outlets such as the New York Times, Forbes, and others. In February of 2019, I was fortunate to be invited as Congressman Joe Courtney's State of the Union Guest of Honor, representing the 2nd District of Connecticut, and I used that very public and visible opportunity to advocate against these types of workplace abuses, including whistleblower retaliation. I also had the honor of meeting Congresswoman Judy Chu, whose nephew tragically died by suicide after hazing in the Marine Corps. She had then pushed for all military branches, Coast Guard included, to have policies specifically prohibiting hazing and bullying. Unfortunately, even with these policies, when there is a clear avoidance of justice, accountability, and dignity, this will only increase the likelihood of suicides and suicide ideation. In 2016, I suffered suicide ideation. I also had the honor of meeting the late Chairman Elijah Cummings, who shared with me about the deep importance of restoring integrity in public service, not only for this generation, but for those that follow. Even with the lack of accountability and justice, I can, however, see the impact of my voice over the years. I testified on Capitol Hill in 2019. The psychological, emotional, and financial toll this has had on my wife and me cannot be overstated. The suicide rate for active duty U.S. military members in 2018 was the highest on record since the Department of Defense began noting these deaths in 2001. Given the alarming suicide rates in the military, we all have the duty to ensure that our working environments at a minimum are safe from abuses. For these reasons and more, it is unfathomable and deeply heartbreaking that I was denied a formal written apology and an opportunity to discuss with our current Commandant, Admiral Carl Schultz, ways in which the Coast Guard can learn from my case to ensure these abuses never happen to anyone else. And because these issues still persist, just last month, I provided a written statement for a congressional hearing led by Congressman and Chairman Benny Thompson on how the Coast Guard must systematically address its lack of diversity, equity, and accountability. My voice has helped push new policies within the Coast Guard and even new legislation that was passed within the 2021 National Defense Authorization Act. A new employee association within the Department of Homeland Security called DHS Spectrum is even taking roots to address work climates, making sure that it's safe for everyone. I reflect back often to my conversation with the late Chairman Elijah Cummings, and I know that we must continue to lift ourselves up, know our worth, and be bold. We must continue to speak out against these injustices and work towards restoring dignity to survivors. We must continue to create healthy work environments where everybody can be at their best. It's ethical, and it requires a human desire and commitment to making an agency, organization, and the nation safer for all. Thank you so much to my family, friends, and other supporters for your endless and encouraging support over the many years. It's been an incredible journey, and I just can't thank you enough for your unconditional love and support. And especially thank you to the National Whistleblower Center for hosting this event. And thank you also to my fellow whistleblowers who often do not get the acknowledgement and appreciation. But from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate everything that you do to make our agencies and our nation safer. Thank you.